What is up? Welcome to another episode of the Compression Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Ali.
And I'm Arima.
And new Samsung phones means new Exynos chips, which means the Exynos 2100 is in the hands of many in the form of phones like the Galaxy S21 Ultra and Galaxy S21 and Galaxy S21 Plus. And like if you didn't already know, there are basically two versions of each of these phones. There's the European version and the American version. I'm pretty sure, like, is it that America gets the Snapdragon and everyone else gets Exynos?
Yeah, I think it's America and a couple other selective countries, and then
And then the rest of
the
the world.
international version
Yeah.
is Exynos.
Okay. So right now it's Exynos 2100 versus Snapdragon 888, and as you may have guessed, there are already some tests on YouTube comparing the two chips. For some background, I think many people remember the Exynos. What was the number? It was Exynos 990. Yeah, it was Exynos 990 versus Snapdragon 865. That went pretty badly. Exynos was like a good
990, was it?
10% worse than Snapdragon in benchmarks. But yeah, I don't know. Have you seen any comparison videos between the two, like in the new Samsung phones?
Yeah, so I saw, first of all, Mr. Who's the Boss, and that gave me a pretty clear impression that, we'll just get right into it, that the Exynos still was underperforming it was usually 6 to 7% slower. And you'll throughout the years you're using the phone, you'll gradually see a decrease in performance anyway. So it's quite even though it's only 6 to 7%, it's actually quite bad for Samsung at least. But then when I search it up, GSM Arena, so they have done a lot more in depth, or at least they've done a lot more tests than what Mr. Who's the Boss presented. And actually, in a lot, so Geekbench in what do you call it? In Geekbench in Mr. Who's the Boss, the Exynos was actually 7% slower, but here, Samsung beat the Snapdragon by quite a lot.
There have been a couple controversies between the two. I think there is a little bit of a story behind the whole thing, where Mr. Who's the Boss, he made a video. I guess I'll just tell the whole story. Basically, Mr. Who's the Boss, in his video he found that overall Exynos, Samsung silicone, was around 3% worse than Snapdragon 888, but that was only in sustained performance. And so yeah, Snapdragon performs around 3% better than Exynos only in sustained performance. That's basically after a long period of time, after the phones have gotten hot and gone through loads over time. But then what's interesting is another tech YouTuber that I watch, another great one that I thoroughly enjoy videos, the Tech Chap, he does a video about pretty much the exact same thing. He compares Snapdragon 888 and Exynos 2100, and it turns out in his tests, he finds out that Exynos and Snapdragon actually performed really similarly both in regular Geekbench or benchmark scores and after sustained load. I don't know if you saw his video or a couple others, because I think there have been another, for example, I also saw Gary Explains. He also did one.
I've looked at websites as well, like GSM Arena, and they've shown most of the time, there's a slight edge, at least with the Geekbench score on Exynos, but it's not much. And then with single core, with Geekbench, there's nothing, no difference, and that is to do with CPU. But actually, if we go onto GPU, the graphics processing is actually the Snapdragon has more of an edge there because of the Adreno 660 inside it.
Mm-hmm.
So that I thought was pretty interesting. So it's like slightly better frame rates in like graphic tasks and even on the benchmarks. But I think like that's about it. There's quite an insignificant like difference in CPU performance when it comes to Exynos versus Snapdragon.
Yeah, and also for me, it also got even more interesting when... So then after Tech Chap and then a couple other videos comparing the two chips did roll out, we found that there were a couple, like Mr. Who's the Boss, first of all, he comments, and I think he tweeted that, I'll just say his tweet, he said that all reviewers who compared the two got different results. And then basically there were two main categories which the results fell into. First of all, that first category is that Exynos is close for most things, basically closes in the gap, but falls behind mostly in sustained workloads. But then the other side is people who got results that Exynos did keep up with regular loads and even sustained loads. So basically Exynos and Snapdragon were neck and neck, and you can't tell the difference between the two chips. That was kind of the conclusion.
That's quite amazing from Samsung. And also it's good for consumers everywhere. So even people who are in America, they should be happy because there's when there's a monopoly on a certain in any certain market, it means that they don't exactly have to try. And Samsung, except for with Apple's A14 Bionic or the Bionic chips, they don't exactly have to try to put themselves out there. They can just do the same thing over and over with increased performance each time. But now they really have to try because the Exynos chip, if it's at the same level now, and Samsung has gone that much better in just a year, like imagine what they can do next year.
Yeah, they came from overheating phones and terrible, like significantly worse battery life and even camera performance than the Snapdragon variant. There's even more good news. So Mr. Who's the Boss also, he said in his video that the Snapdragon chip and the Exynos 2100. So these are specific chips. Snapdragon 888 and Exynos 2100. They give the phones, the Samsung S21 lineup, pretty much the same battery life. But actually, I think he said they were almost identical, that they landed on exactly the same percentage. So that's great. Well done, Samsung. You are keeping up. Is there anything we've got for cameras? Because that's also been changed. Like cameras are software heavy, so
I think camera testing will have to come a bit later, but I'm not too sure. One thing is you mentioned overheating, and that was because of because they actually used a different thermal they used a different material for the thermal pipes inside the two different phones.
Okay.
Which was quite weird, but I'm not sure if they have now, and I think maybe next week, next podcast, we might give an update on that. But I doubt they've made the same mistake, and they've gone for different thermal, for different thermal engineering.
Okay.
On thanks.
Okay. Cool. Basically, yeah, Samsung did it. They basically just addressed the biggest issue with last year's phones. Wasn't really an issue with the phones in specific, just an issue with why are people in Europe getting a different phone than people in America. That was basically it. Mm-hmm. Samsung knocked that down. I think that makes the S21 series of phones pretty great. If you've seen other reviews, they say already it's a great phone, and now you're getting the same phone wherever you are. That's cool. But yeah, I think we can move on now. I guess. Do you have any kind of news for us, or?
So this happened today or maybe yesterday, but I found it quite interesting, especially if you follow Elon Musk and his Twitter account specifically. So basically, Tesla, Elon Musk's company, it's basically made him the richest guy in the world. Tesla bought $1.5 billion in Bitcoin, which first of all caused Bitcoin to jump 17%, which is a record high. I mean, that just shows how influential him and his company is. But they bought 1.5 bill in Bitcoin just so that they could. Well, no one actually knows why, but what they've said is they've bought Bitcoin for, in quotation marks, more flexibility to further diversify and maximize returns on their cash. And I'm not sure exactly what that means, but one thing is for sure, and that's that Tesla will start accepting Bitcoin in exchange for its products, which is, I think that's
Wait,
actually
first of all, if
feasible as well.
you said Tesla bought $1 billion something dollars of Bitcoin. You mean like the company Tesla or just Elon?
The company. So at first I thought it was Elon, and they were just saying, this guy who owns Tesla bought this much, but it's actually the company bought it.
Okay, but basically Elon bought it.
Yeah, but
he owns majority of Tesla. Are there any other people who split the share with him? Like major people?
No, I don't think anyone splits the share with him.
So Bitcoin went up by 17%. What was it? Before that it was like, I think last time I checked it was $40,000.
Yeah, so it was, I think it was around like 30 to 40,000, but it hadn't exactly reached like above 40,000, and now it's worth, well, maybe not now, but once they bought it, and once Tesla's announcement of them buying it, it jumped to 44,200 to be exact. Insane. And this also kind of segues into into Elon Musk and his Twitter. Because if you haven't been following Elon Musk or have been living under a rock on Twitter, then you probably know that first Elon Musk put hashtag Bitcoin in his bio, which caused the currency to jump.
Yeah.
And then he started tweeting a lot more about it. He removed it from his bio, but he kept tweeting about cryptocurrencies. And now his obsession is Dogecoin, which I found was quite interesting. So basically, Dogecoin has actually went up by 50% just after Elon Musk.
I've never heard of Dogecoin.
Yeah, it's kind of this meme, but it's actually turned into kind of a real cryptocurrency. I think it's only worth like $1 or something. Per
share.
Yeah, it's only worth $1. So it's not that much, but it's because of Elon Musk that it's risen, and people are buying so much of Dogecoin now. It's it's quite amazing, and that's basically all due to Elon Musk.
I mean, I'm not that surprised. How many followers does the guy have on Twitter? He's got like no, I'm not going to check, but like either way, he's obviously huge on Twitter, but yeah, so it's kind of interesting to me that he's this busy and he has this many companies to run, and he still has this much time to go into like cryptocurrencies and research into everything. It's super interesting how much time the guy makes for himself. Like, this is the definition of a guy who doesn't. He never says, I don't have time for it. He's literally always working. That's about it for Elon Musk. I feel like we've talked about him for like a couple podcasts in a row. The guy's huge. But I think like it kind of makes sense to segue into this, but speaking of rich people, rich businessmen, we've got this is huge news. Jeff Bezos stepping down from as the CEO of Amazon.
Yeah, well, so I think this is okay. Yeah, so Jeff Bezos is stepping down, but it's not as big as you think, because first of all, he's only going down to executive chairman, so he'll still be, part of the process of running the company. But he said that this will give him time and energy to focus on his other ventures. So, but also, I think one of the main things about Jeff Bezos stepping down is, first of all, he ran the company, he founded the company, but also because who is replacing him? And I did a tiny bit of research, and it's basically this guy called Andy Jassy.
Yeah.
And he's been in the company since 1997, when Jeff Bezos had moved out of his garage, but he was still in an office, in quotation marks, the size of a closet. So he's been there in pretty early days, and he is now the he now leads Amazon's cloud computing business.
Yeah, I did read about that does he lead, am I right about him leading something to do with like the website Amazon? It's like managing the website and stuff.
So he definitely knows how to run the company, and because he's been here for so long, most people are saying that barely anything will change. Because he's been at the company for 25 years. So yeah, it's not that bad, and let's just hope there's some reform to Amazon to do with taking care of the actual workers. But apart from that, I don't think we'll see that much of a drastic change, which was one of the worries when someone like Jeff Bezos, the CEO of such a huge company, is stepping down from a company that probably impacts all of our lives.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, but Andy Jassy, like potential second richest man in the world, couple years in to come, maybe.
No, I don't think it's exactly he's gonna shoot up to be the richest person, because Amazon CEO probably does pay a lot, but it's more that Jeff, obviously he owns a lot of shares in Amazon, being the founder. So maybe this guy is probably gonna be top 10, top 20, but on the Forbes list, because he probably has a lot of shares in the company. But I doubt he's gonna overtake Jeff Bezos, at least, because his wealth comes from shares.
Okay. If that's about it for Jeff Bezos and that business section of the podcast, I think we can take a break right now, unless there's anything you want to talk about before.
No, I don't think. No, I don't think so.
All right, we'll take a quick break, and I'll catch you guys after that. Okay, welcome back, and I don't know if you've heard about this pretty interesting tech product that's been, I don't know if it's officially out yet, it's been around the internet, it's been around and about. It's by Xiaomi. It's their brand new, I don't know if it's been officially announced, to be honest. It's their Air Charger, I think that's what it's called. So have you heard of it?
Well, I've heard of it. I haven't actually looked into it, because I saw Mr. Who's the Boss video, but I never clicked on it. And I've seen a lot of articles on it as well on my Google feed. Just haven't clicked on it.
Okay, it's kind of simple. It's basically true wireless charging. That's the basis. So like, you know how we already have these wireless charging pads where people disagree and say that's not true wireless charging because they still need to be in contact, and you can't just keep your phone anywhere in a room and then it just starts charging. A concept a while back I remember which is basically what the product is. It's basically you have this little base station. It's similar to a Wi-Fi router, but it just carries charge through the air and charges your phone. This one, the spec is it charges up to 4 point something or 5 watts, which is pretty slow, to be honest. That's one issue of the tech being completely new. We can't expect it to be 40-watt fast charging through the air yet. But yeah, it's basically just actual wireless charging. There's a huge base in the middle of the room. You walk into the room with your phone and it just starts wirelessly charging, that's basically it.
But one thing, so true wireless charging, does that mean you can so this base is plugged in somewhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, the base has to be plugged in to carry the charge.
Yeah,
you're not connected to
this
it.
This is so cool though, because it's It's futuristic. I remember like 2019, we were seeing these, oh yeah, what could be in the future. This was one of them.
Yeah.
For it to come this quickly is quite insane.
Yeah, I remember
But,
iPhone 10, everyone was complaining like, what is this? This isn't true wireless charging. I still need to put my phone on the wireless charger. I'm still a fan of wireless charging as it is, though. Like, there's something about not needing to fiddle around with a lightning port or like just any port and put it into your phone and just drop it onto the wireless charger instead. I think that's still more futuristic than a plug.
yeah, obviously, yeah. But this is like next level. But
It is.
obviously you've kind of looked into this a bit. What are the flaws? Because there's bound to be this being a first generation product.
Okay, obviously, first of all, one of the most concerning issues, that's health.
Oh no.
We already know. Okay, first of all, this tech, this what do you call it? This standard is millimeter wave, so it's the same one as 5G.
Alright.
So there are a couple. I'll just go like the key bullet points. So first of all, there's health concerns. There are concerns with the charge not carrying through certain objects. As all of these are as with millimeter wave because it's the same tech. Other ones like this is you need to be super close to it. It like I'm not saying as if it's gonna like you're gonna have this outside. You're probably not. But if it, for example, rains, it's not gonna carry through. Well, I don't even know what I said. You're not gonna have this outside. But yeah, first of all, health issues. There have actually even been people who say that this whole millimeter wave tech and 5G links in with the whole pandemic and everything, which I don't know how. I don't know like the details of it, but that's something people have talked about.
Yeah, I think there is obviously going to be health concerns, but I don't think it will have a link to a virus as such. But yeah, health is definitely a big issue.
Yeah, it's not that's not the biggest one. The pandemic and everything, that's not the biggest one.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger one is basically, you know how people, we talked about this an episode ago or something, that some people turn off their phone at night because they don't want like the radio waves coming from the phone to mess with your brain and give you a tumor or something. This is perhaps linked with that. There is a charge flowing through the air. I don't know how safe that is for your brain or any part of your body. I don't know. But yeah, that's definitely a concern to look out for. I don't think anyone's actually it's been in anyone's home yet, but hopefully that's an issue we can negate in the future. This is early tech. I hope this issue doesn't stand right now and it's not too serious.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't get that excessive. Because already, actually, no, to be honest, already we've seen millimeter waves go into cities in America. So I doubt the health concerns like brain tumors, at least for the short term, are there. Long term, obviously, we haven't had a chance exactly to try it, but really hopeful that that's not true, because then MKBHD might develop something, and we don't want that icon going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah. Also, another thing that problem I just thought of was compatibility. Like, is this going to be similar to 5G where it took a pretty long while for, well, not too long, but I think we were pretty quick to it, that phones actually need to have 5G built in and they need to market that as a feature, because like old wireless charging, it's not even that old. This is barely out, but like old wireless charging, you had the Qi standard. Every phone had to abide by that standard. Every phone had to have Qi wireless charging so that they all work with the same type of pad. Weirdly, iPhones didn't have a proprietary version of that, which I'm really glad about. And I don't know if there's going to be like a standard for this either, or maybe phones which, because they're both millimeter wave, maybe phones which have 5G are able to. I don't know.
No, I doubt.
That might be completely stupid of me to say that.
I think we will have to have another pad, and then there'll have to be some sort of driver to communicate with that base station and the actual charging. Because if it's completely wireless, If you're just setting it up, then, how is it going to communicate? How does it know when you've... Because there are no magnets. How does it know when you've entered your vicinity? Stuff like that. So it will definitely have to be extra hardware.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other issues with the tech then, like, as if those weren't pretty substantial issues. I hope they can iron those out as soon as possible. Oh yeah, and last issue, this is only 5 watts. It's not that fast. I think the iPhone maxes out at 5 watts, which, I mean, that's Apple, but we've seen phones go up to like 55 watt, I think, max with the Mi 10 Ultra, Xiaomi Mi 10 Ultra. Same company, by the way.
Yeah. Maybe I think it's a first generation product, so you have to cut it some slack. It's
Definitely. It is.
It's like the Galaxy Fold with the plastic, with what you call it, the screen protector. So you have to cut it some slack.
Oh God! Well, I hope not.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
They should iron it out within the first couple years.
Yeah. Hopefully, but I think that's about it for that cool wireless charging tech. There's one more topic. I kept this one for last on purpose because I thought it was really interesting. So we're talking about another tech YouTuber. This revolves around another tech YouTuber. We've talked about plenty today, but you probably know him, Dave2D, one of my favorite tech YouTubers. I personally watch his videos. He's great. He made a video. I think it was titled like, it was something like the OnePlus 9 Pro an early look, and then I get this video notification, and I'm like, okay, where's everyone else's video? Because probably the embargo's dropped, and everyone's got the OnePlus 9 Pro in their hands, and then I find out that this isn't an embargo. First of all, the event hasn't started yet at the time of recording, by the way. And then, Dave2D has an exclusive look of the OnePlus 9 Pro. How? I don't know. So I click on the video. And then I see the first scene. I see he doesn't have the phone in hand. Okay, I'm not saying it's clickbait, but like, okay. He did say an early look. He never said hands-on. And then he goes on to talk about, I don't know if you know about this, but he says in the video that someone on the Dave2D Discord, on the YouTube channel Discord, on the Discord server, messages publicly. He says, I have the OnePlus 9 Pro. And obviously there's plenty of people who do this. They're like, oh, I have this unreleased phone. Come check it out. I'll send you pictures. And then they're just basically doing it for, I guess, like, attention. But then Dave, he sees this message, and then instead of like completely shutting it down, he DMs the guy. He says, okay, cool. Send us some photos then. Let's see what the phone looks like. And he sends some pictures, and there are a couple things that are really interesting, and we don't know 100% if these are true or if they're complete rubbish clones or fakes or whatever. Have you even seen anything about this online?
Look, since probably the Note 10, I don't, except for this podcast, I rarely ever actually look at leaks, just because I kind of want to know what the phone is and see that surprise when it actually comes. So I don't actually...
Yeah, but I don't know if you can even call this a leak. This seems like...
But, I mean...
The guy says he has it in hand. He sent photos, and they look... I'll give a spoiler. They look pretty legit.
Yeah, so I thought it was just a normal, going through what the leaks were, what the, like, schematics of the phone were, and what we can tell from the cases. And that was kind of it. And so I didn't click on the video. I haven't been clicking on many OnePlus videos. So that's...
You just want to get surprised when it actually does launch.
Yeah, I love that that feeling, and it just makes the phone a bit more special.
Okay, fair enough. But I do look into a couple leaks. I do. I'm just that curious. But I'm gonna point out a couple things, and the main thing at the end. So there were a couple minor changes. First of all, Dave pointed out in his video that the phone is incredibly thin, and then they had to they do the signature OnePlus tape around the edges, and then they, instead of going flush around the power buttons, I don't know how to say this, the power button, instead of covering the entirety of the power button, it kind of the rail kind of juts out around the power button because the taper is so thin. So it has to go around the power button to fit where the power button and the volume rocker is. That's number one. That's not too big. But another one is the camera module looks very different. So as in, it doesn't look super different as in the actual aesthetics. It's still a rectangle in the corner. That's the basis. But it doesn't have the lenses. First of all, you can actually see each individual lens rather than it being the entire camera module being blacked out, something like the Galaxy Note and S20 Ultra.
I think
But
it looks.
This one,
I've just from thumbnails and you can see it kind of looks like the Mi 11, isn't it?
I think so. I haven't actually. It's the camera bump is a little bit longer though. It's more rectangular.
Yeah. There's more cameras itself, I think.
Yeah, but the main thing about this camera, the most interesting thing about all of these leaks, in my opinion, because I'm a huge fan of cameras, is that the branding on these cameras, it says the brand Hasselblad. I don't know if anyone's heard of that camera company. We talked about this before shooting this. Yeah, that you actually haven't heard of these.
Yeah, I thought it was just another audio centered company.
Sounded like Harman Kardon. No, but I think they make super high end DSLRs. I don't know honestly, I don't know the difference between a DSLR and a mirrorless camera. They make one of the two. They make a high end mirrorless or DSLR. And they're super well known. They have amazing color science. They have just super high quality and expensive cameras. So then obviously their branding is printed onto the back of the camera. So that probably means there is some collaboration. If we take these leaks to be real, that's all with a big if. If we take these leaks to be real, maybe there is a collaboration with OnePlus and Hasselblad on the camera in the OnePlus 9 Pro.
I really hope so, because we've seen so many, we talked about this in the last podcast, that OnePlus are stepping up their cameras, and if it means partnering with a high-end camera, so be it. The only problem that I'm seeing already is the price going up even higher. We've seen it gradually go from the OnePlus 6 to the OnePlus 7 to the OnePlus 8, it keeps increasing. Let's just hope that this partnership and this phone being even better with the Snapdragon 888, let's hope it's the same price, just for better.
Better cameras, yeah. I think what we should hope for even more is actually not even just the price, it's that, we've seen so many camera collaborations between a smartphone company making a smartphone and then saying this camera was made in collaboration with this famous camera company or this famous video production company. For example, I'll give an example. This was literally, I don't know if you know Red, the company Red, which makes those super high-end expensive cameras.
They made their own phone. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they made their Red Hydrogen.
Flop of the year.
That phone, yeah, everyone expected that phone to have an amazing camera because Red's color science, they make some of the best sensors for especially video. And then when they come out with a camera which has one of the typical Sony IMX sensors that pretty much every flagship on the market had, that made it a pretty big bust for that launch, and it just wasn't. It was a good camera, but it wasn't Red standard, the one that we were expecting. We obviously weren't expecting it to be on the quality of a Red camera.
Yeah, I think another way to say this, and what I kind of thought in my head was, when you have when you get a new laptop, and then on the side of the speaker it just goes, this company.
Yeah.
Which but the speakers sound the same as your average speaker for anything, and it's kind of just an added bonus. Which is kind of like
just
a
to
gimmick.
make you feel good about it.
Yeah, it's not useful. So let's just hope that this actually has an impact on the cameras, and we can see that impact.
Yeah, like literally, Xiaomi actually. Did you tune into Xiaomi's? At the time we're recording, Xiaomi had their live event today. When they launched the Mi 11.
I got notifications of
that.
I did not watch it.
Yeah, they had. They announced that the speakers they worked on them in collaboration with Harman Kardon.
Right.
Pretty famous audio brand that people would love to have their speakers in their phone. I don't know if it's actually their speakers. Maybe they worked with them on the engineering, but they claim that they're going to be better in collaboration with Harman Kardon. And that's hopefully what we can say with OnePlus. I don't know if they're going to make like a custom sensor, which is fine-tuned for a smartphone because Hasselblad is so good with smartphone sensors. Or maybe they're going to have like some special glass around the camera which will gather more light or get bigger pixels. I don't know. We don't even know if this is real or not. We're taking this all with a big grain of salt. This could all be absolute rubbish. And this guy's lying on the DTD Discord.
Let's hope it's not. Wishful thinking.
I really hope so. Because also there were a couple of other things to point out. It was... The phone also had 11 gigs of RAM, which is a pretty weird number. You kind of assume RAM to have an even number of gigabytes. It also had the same 1440p display. I think the same 120 hertz display. Same hole punch, in the pictures at least. I'm a bit annoyed about that. I thought we were going to see some companies with especially Android smartphones come out with some crazy ways to hide the cameras. But maybe not in these businesses which are more serious about it because they actually want to sell stuff, not like ZTE, who, thanks ZTE for making the plunge, by the way, to actually putting out an under-display camera. But yeah, I think that's about it for all the things that we could point out from those photos. Very interesting stuff. So yeah, the things that I'm most excited about, Hasselblad branding, obviously that catches my eye. And yeah, I guess all the other stuff is kind of specific. We're going to see a spec button probably. OnePlus 9 Pro soon to be launched. Hopefully we can actually get this podcast out before the launch. God knows, but yeah. Also, actually, before we end, the color, I wasn't a fan of the color. It was like this weird glossy, they took away the matte thing.
Oh no.
They were doing a couple matte phones in a row, yeah. It was like this pretty glossy, off green, weird color. I'll actually put a link to that photo, or if I can, or the tweet from Dave, and so that you guys can get an idea of what the thing looked like. But that's been it. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Peace.